We've got a great show for you today. Ashley and I will be talking with friend of the show, Camille Corbett, who is hilarious, and we're going to go over our watch list. We spend most of our time talking about that Bonnie Blue documentary, and you're going to want to stick around for that conversation. She is the latest and greatest scammer, but before that, you're going to hear my interview with Charlie Webster, the journalist and host of Scamanda, who exposed Amanda Riley. She has a new podcast from Apple TV called Unicorn Girl, and it is so wild, I can't even explain it to you, so she will. Stay tuned for that. Charlie Webster is here with us today on TV I Say. Charlie is one of my favorite podcasters who created Scamanda, one of my favorite podcast turned documentaries on a brilliant, brilliant scammer, Amanda Riley, who faked cancer. Charlie is back with Unicorn Girl, a story that I can't even begin to describe. I don't even know where we begin, but it is the story of Candice Rivera, who recently was arrested. Charlie, let's just get into it. Unicorn Girl. So what is this story about?
Ashley, I love your intro because I can't even describe it and I made it. I feel like I'm like, how even do I describe this to people? That's
Yeah.
like a challenge I've been thinking about because you're right, it is so wild and complex and messy. And, I could describe it this way, but then it doesn't tell that side of it. And I just feel like there's so much to this story. So I will say that, and thanks for your kind words about Scamanda. I after Scamanda, I went on a journey making Unicorn Girl, which is about a woman called Candice. You'll see that you'll get to know Candice as everybody in her life got to know her, which I think is very important because she's fun. And I say fun not in my own description. That's what everybody described her was. She's an energizer, somebody that you want to be around. Like, I don't know how many hours in the day does she have because she's literally doing everything. Our podcast starts, Unicorn Girl starts in a book group that's private, and that's how I also entered the story, which I thought was really important. So I kind of take you on the journey also of like how I got to know Candice too. And it is nothing like you could ever imagine from where it starts to where it finishes. I honestly couldn't write it if I was making it up. And sometimes I was like, that is so unbelievable. And then I'd be like, oh my God, it was true. And so some of this and a lot of, I don't know what the fine line about this story is like some of it is based in the truth. And I think that's very hard sometimes to work out what is true and what is not.
Yeah, I feel like we're in the age of the scammer. Half of my text messages and phones are people trying to scam me. But then there are these other scams that feel so much more insidious, where someone is
Mm.
lying about who they are, they're implanting themselves in your life. And I think people kind of go, who falls for these scams of like sending money to someone? But when I see something like this, it is very easy for me to understand how someone could fall for someone who's so fun. So why for you is it important to sort of capture this kind of scam story?
Yeah, I love the point that you make because it's very easy for us to sit here and go, how did somebody fall for this? And that's not what this story is. This story is about human experience and real life. And I don't know anybody that hasn't gone through something where they've been, betrayed in a friendship or in an intimate relationship. But this is very friendship based. But also people that have come along in your life when maybe you're going through a difficult time and they offer hope and they offer purpose, and that's very much what this story is based about. It's different from getting a text message or getting a phone call, where somebody's trying to steal money from you. That's not what this is about. And also, that's also sometimes hard to distinguish whether it's true or not because they're very clever nowadays. And so, but this story is very deep and built out in friendships, in connection, in purpose, in validation, in doing good. I think what's complicated for a lot of people as they were coming to realize what Candice had done, that new Candice, were like, no, 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 but I was there. I saw that. That was real. And then you won't ask the question of like, why do people fall for it? And I love that you said, Ashley, that you could see how this could happen. And that's what I wanted to portray with this. And that's why I was very careful to make sure, as a listener, I take you on this journey of what Candice did, but also the people she surrounded herself and what they experienced, because she also surrounded herself with a lot of credibility where it became very hard to question. But there's a lot of tactics in this that I think would be really useful to help people understand how these things, and I don't know, Candice did this, but also did Candice believe it herself, which is also an interesting question.
So at the heart sort of her scam was that she started a charity group to help people who had been human trafficked. So to me, that's something obviously people aren't going to question. It's a good cause. You hear someone's doing that and you're like, yes, I want to help. So how did you break through the layers to figure out just what she was doing that was true and actually good? Did she actually do good in her neighborhood or in her community? I think you spent 2 years researching this.
That's a really good question. I think I didn't so first and foremost, I didn't approach it through this foundation, this nonprofit that she set up. She set up a nonprofit called Exodus, yeah, which was about fighting human trafficking. I approached it through the people that knew her, that were very, very close to her. Also through this book group that she was part of, and she used the book group like a personal diary. So I got to read, like, and this wasn't public. So, I mean, saying that though, she was quite egregious in the things that she put out publicly too. But I don't know. I got to know her first through what she'd written, through the videos she posted. And I mean, there's one thing, I don't want to give too much away, but there's one video where she says, oh, gosh, to be like Jesus to these people. And you're like, okay, wow. So you have a very self-aggrandizing view of yourself. Like you think that, but then maybe she was really doing good to help these people. And it was so complicated to try and figure that out. So first and foremost, it was just to spend time with the people that knew her best, who were also trying to work out who Candice was. Because the Candice they knew wasn't necessarily the Candice that, you know, had done all these things, which will come to light as you listen. And there might have been some red flags along the way, but at the same time, like, you mentioned human trafficking. Candice also like worked with and got very close to trafficking survivors who were trying to do good, and Candice came along and swept that up. And she, again, I'm trying not to give too much away, but she did take people's trauma and used it for her own story and for her own benefit. So for me, there was two separate things. There was like, okay, fact, 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 fact. What can I evidence? What can I evidence? Because is this true? Is this not true? There's things in the podcast that you will think absolutely aren't true. And then I will tell you something and you're like, oh my God. And I'm like, that actually was true. And I saw it with my own eyes. I met these people. Like, she put a black ops team together. I met these people. They are real. I verified them and spent time with them. And you cannot believe how on earth she went from being a mom of two in the suburbs of Utah to putting a black ops team together to trying to go into Afghanistan or go into the Ukraine when the war broke out. But even that isn't really the heart of Candice or what she did. So for me, it was like, I know, it, like, your introduction was
So
perfect. It's just, I don't even know how to describe it. Just go and listen. Just go and listen. And if anybody has a suggestion how to describe it, please drop me a line.
every time you're like, she did that, I'm like, oh, she did another horrible, horrible thing, which I feel like we hear so much about scammers in the news. There was recently a woman who pretended to like be a nurse for like 50 people. But I hadn't heard about this story at all until I heard about Unicorn Girl. And then I went to go research. But I feel like the story somehow missed the press or just the major news. Why do you think that is?
You know what I think it is? So you mentioned about a nurse. By the way, Candice is a nurse. I'll leave it there.
Isn't that also part of
As well as all these other things. She's also a multi-million dollar business woman. And she also worked with survivors and worked with key organizations that you will all recognize, that I will just leave there. But I think like with Cat, you mentioned about, okay, I hadn't heard about this one. If you go and Google Candice Rivera, well, maybe not when the podcast comes out, but before the podcast came out, if you'd have Googled her, there was some headlines and it was just about embezzlement. So that is not the story at all. So you will be like, okay, this woman embezzled some money. Now go and listen to Unicorn Girl, and I'll tell you exactly what happened. And I think because I didn't go get this story, I got this story because I found out about a book group. There was a woman that was being very fantastical. I put myself in the book group. I watched and I saw her write like a diary, okay? Use it like a diary. And I got to know Candice through that. And then the headlines came later, the whole thing that happened that I don't want to give away came later. And it's embezzlement, right? Is the headline. But what I did was investigate Candice and the people around her, which is what the story is. And that's what she really did. So I think that because the reason why this is complicated is, you said about there was recently a woman who lied about being a nurse. Amanda of Scamanda, the story I made before Unicorn Girl, she lied about cancer. I can't, in one line, tell you exactly what Candice did. And I think that's why you haven't heard about it, because Unicorn Girl is not the headline.
Yeah. I mean, with Scamanda, what I loved was those personal connections that you got from
Yeah.
interviews with people who were in her life. It seems like with Unicorn Girl, we're getting that same level of detail. I'm curious, obviously I love podcasts, but Scamanda did reach more people when they turned it into a documentary. Do you see that happening with Unicorn Girl?
Oh gosh, what could I say? Maybe that's the answer I
Oh,
give you. You can read between the lines. I feel like I could have made 5 series of Unicorn Girl. There is so much to this story. I feel like there's a lot that we can also visually bring to Candice. Bring about Candice to everyone. And so I'm really proud of the journey I went on with Scamanda, going from podcast to TV documentary. And I hope that it's, something that I can do with Unicorn Girl. And I feel like there is so much to this story as this conversation I think is alluding to for everyone, that it would be really powerful, I think, to bring it to the screen. So let's see. But I really hope that people just, I don't know, love maybe is the wrong word, because there's also like, this is real lives. And I really like what you said about Scamander. Like, I really, for me, it's so important to bring the intimacy, the emotion, the connection, of these stories, because it is human life and it's human experience that we can all relate to and connect to. And I think like I spend a lot of time making these, a lot of time. I spend a lot of time listening, being with people, being in communities, building connection, so that I can bring you the story that's so nuanced and so layered, that's so underneath the headline, that really doesn't say remotely what this is.
yeah. And that level of care and detail is what made Scamanda so great. And I know it is going to make Unicorn Girl a must listen. No, I mean, I imagine people are bombarding you with like emails of new scammers every day. Is there anyone else on the horizon?
Oh gosh, yes, and I can't say too much, but there I do get a lot of people reach out to me, and thank you so much for everyone that does, p please do. I mean, gosh, when after Scamanda was released, and it was incredible to see the reaction, and thank you to everybody that was, part of that journey, listeners, viewers, because you inspired me to make Unicorn Girl. Like it wasn't separate. Like, you inspired me to go and really pursue these complex, messy female stories and make Unicorn Girl. So thank you so much. And I remember after Scamander, so many people contacted me about people in their community that they felt were lying about cancer. And predominantly it was women as well, young women. And I feel like, I don't know, what does that tell us about society at the moment. And I feel like with Unicorn Girl, it'll probably bring out the same thing. And yeah, it's also like sad to hear sometimes that there are so many people, I don't know, that are manipulating people. But at the same time, it's complicated, it's human life, and I just hope that people get a lot from the stories that I make. And I hope that it brings awareness too, because I think again, you asked a great question around like, the scam, right? I remember when I made Scamanda, I didn't even want, I was like, the name Scamanda, great, very catchy, but I was conscious that I didn't want it to just be scam because it's so much more than that. And it's the same with Unicorn Girl. Like, Unicorn Girl is so much more than a fraud or a scam story. It's about human life and connection and friendships and betrayals in that.
Like you said, often this is young women. I feel like these types of crimes kind of get written off as, oh, she just wanted social media attention. She just wanted money. And with this story, it goes so far beyond just
Oh,
wanting attention or money. The level of crime is,
oh yeah.
like I said, you're going to
Yeah.
want to listen the detail. People were like, so what is it? And I'm like, just every scam, every crime. She's just everything.
Yeah. Yeah, she's everything. She's all of them combined. Everything you've ever heard about is combined and then put in an extremity. And like you said, you use the perfect word. It's insidious, right? That's why it's hard to spot because every day it's that little subtle thing and there's a lot of abusive behaviors that were used that, I think is really important to recognize, like the love bombing, like she met people when they were going through their most vulnerable time, like she put everything out there for people to see. And at the time, you're like, wow, this woman's doing amazing things. But then you kind of look back retrospectively and it's like, well, wow, was that really appropriate to show everybody and put online? But then at the same time, is that the world we live in? I mean, if I'm not posting something online, am I doing something? Am I not doing anything? And sometimes I find that I'm like, I don't know, I wish we could change that. Just because you're not posting something, we should be a little bit more present. So I don't know. Like I think that our social media world feeds into the rhetoric of what some of these people are doing. I was going to say something, but I've just totally forgotten what I was going to say because I'm gone on a tangent about about Candice and describing this story. Oh, I know what I was going to say, but by the end of it, some of the stuff is quite shocking, and absolutely not what she was convicted for or what actually happened with Candice. So this is it is very deep investigation too, because I'm spoiling it now, but she got convicted because you will see online, but that is not like what the story is, and it's so I found out so much more about what she actually did, and the consequence of what she did. Because again, look, there's money and then there's the consequence of what she did to human life and to people.
Do you ever sort of worry about creating documentaries that are focused on scammers, giving them the additional attention or just fame
Mm.
that they desire?
I'm really glad you asked that question because that's something that I thought long and hard about, and it's something I've been questioned about, and I questioned myself about before anybody even questioned me about whether putting these stories out there gives any of these people a platform. Look, it doesn't. There's with Scamanda, Amanda, people know what she did, and it will be it's not a platform. Like I detailed everything that she did, and I made sure that it was centered around the victims. Unicorn Girl is the same. It's always victim centered and sharing those voices and in some way I think there's obviously the law, but there's also like an awareness that I think is really important through storytelling, to understand how these behaviors happen. And I can tell you, and again, I don't want to spoil it. I keep saying I don't want to spoil it, but I don't want to spoil it. But I can tell you that Candice probably has doesn't quite feel like she's done something wrong. And so I think it's really important to raise an awareness of the capability of these people so that they don't do it again. and also people can look out for, I don't know, behaviors, and can also feel validated through maybe their own portrayals that they feel isolated in, or maybe they're blaming themselves because, again, we ask the same questions, we victim blame, and we say, how could people fall for these things? Which is just so not fair and not the right question to ask. So I hope that this also helps people feel like they're not alone maybe in things that have happened to them, because we've all been betrayed in our lives, and I don't know anybody that hasn't, and if anybody says they haven't, they're lying. So I absolutely think long and hard about it, and that is why I tell the stories the way that I do, with real deep emotion and detail, and you get to know these people as they go along. So absolutely not. I would never do that. If I thought that was a risk, I wouldn't put it out there.
Yeah. And again, with Scamanda, that's the concern that we saw that made the story so riveting. Unicorn Girl premieres August 18th with a weekly rollout, although Apple TV subscribers, you get to binge it. So there you go. That's kind of great. I'm going to be binging it. So go listen now. The series ends October 6th. Charlie, I want to thank you so much for joining us on TV I Say.
Thanks so much, Ashley. Thank you.
You know, TV is whatever you say it is. That is the theme here. But it can't just be what I say. I don't watch everything. I'm going to be honest with you. The Summer I Turned Pretty, I have not watched the final season.
You're missing out.
Yeah, but I have Camille here. I have Ashley here. So we're going to get right into our watch list, what we're all watching. I think I'll get the ball rolling here because I need to scream about the Bonnie Blue documentary.
It's good. I watched it. I enjoyed it.
Let's talk about it.
Can we talk about it?
Yes. Let's talk. Okay, because I just got a VPN just to watch it, and then I was like, well, I got a VPN. I may as well watch a bunch of stuff on Channel 4. So they had a documentary about how people have had their lives ruined by that show and Love Island.
Yes.
And
I love Love
so that's good on there. But let's please talk about
Bonnie Blue.
Bonnie Blue. I think the title is like Me and a Thousand Men or something. It is an incredible documentary in that it really does try to be unbiased and give you a look into this woman's life and motivations. And it does do that. It's just that what is behind the scenes is not much. She is just, if she ran a business, she would be a CEO and we would celebrate her, and she would run Facebook like a psychopath.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's her business acumen. That's what I loved about her.
But instead, she realized she was good at a different thing.
Yeah.
And she went with that. I also watched the one about the other girl who did, Lily Phillips.
Oh, Lily Phillips.
Yes, that one's on
YouTube.
Hers
her
was
on
sad.
TikTok.
I follow her.
She's like a normal girl.
Well, yeah.
Like, it's actually sad.
I watched hers and it was sad, and I wrote about it because I was like, you know, some people feel that they get forced into this because the stakes on OnlyFans, people do more and more, but this is just like a long history of the porn industry. People have been doing this. This isn't like the norm. But yeah, this is something that as OnlyFans and stuff becomes more just like the porn industry, you're going to see more of. And hers was sad because you get the sense that this is a girl who did originally started as like, oh yeah, I like having fun with like my boyfriend and it's cool, we can make money off of this. And now it's become a thing that like supports her entire family. And she clearly doesn't want to be known as like Lily Phillips, the girl who like had sex with 100 guys. And she was like, you could see just exhausted afterwards. And then you watch.
Never be able to change that.
Bonnie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think because of Bonnie Blue, no one is going to remember Lily Phillips because Bonnie Blue was like, give me 1,000 guys.
Yeah.
And she does it. The cameras are there the whole time. And they finish. And she's like, you guys want to go get McDonald's? What's up?
Yeah, she was like, I don't feel sore or anything.
Yeah, she was just like,
that
anyway.
was weird. I don't know. I think that she is a succubus. That's like my genuine thought. Like, she is a succubus. There's some dark art
honestly,
there.
I can believe it because
semen.
I mean, I think when you watch porn and I'm about to be like, I've studied it,
right?
But like I did. I went to liberal art school where we had like sex and porn class, and they brought porn stars to campus. I met Gisley. They're great. Yeah, and people got mad that Gisley came to our campus. But I went to a feminist porn festival. and watched like a lot of it, and a lot of that study is how to kind of differentiate between realistic female pleasure in these things and when it's just like for the male eye, because it is possible to create porn for women that is ethical, but yeah, a lot of what you're finding on Pornhub and the stuff that's popular isn't that. So
OnlyFans changed that a lot.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
Now they're like women that are millionaires. Going into porn scenes, that changes
and that's
the
what's
dynamic.
changed the dynamic. So like when you watch these people like Annabelle Chang in the 90s who like slept with 100 men, it's this very sad story. She's working for like Ron Jeremy, and you can tell is kind of having to do this so she can stay relevant and make more money in the industry. With like Bonnie Blue, that like the study of true women's pleasure in these things, you will watch that documentary, and if you question whether she like truly has no internal issues and enjoys this, watch it. That is a woman doing what she does best. I felt like I was watching Serena Williams on the tennis court.
Right.
It was pure.
She's business.
She is just pure
business.
Business.
The fact that she could just turn it all off. She's like, all right, this is my job.
They were like
1,000 guys. Bonnie Blue petting zoo, please.
The director was like, well, a lot of people who in this industry, they have like a tough time dealing with things like this in the way that they're treated. How do you deal with that? And she was like, well, if I ever feel sad or I have a bad feeling, I don't want to feel that way. So then I just don't. And she just looked at the director like, and isn't that what everyone does? Like, and I was like, oh, she is a sociopath who used that to make millions in this industry. And she also is at a point, she's supporting her family. Her mom and dad were at the documentary premiere.
Yes.
Her mom was like, if you were getting $1 million a month, you'd do the same thing. Her dad said nothing and apparently stared at his feet the entire screening.
I would.
It is graphic. It's a graphic documentary, you guys. It is.
I can't wait to watch.
I didn't know on British TV you could just show.
Showing everything.
Yeah, you can show legit.
It was crazy because like apparently you cannot show like women's pubic hair or something, so there would just be like a small blur, but you'd see like full penetration.
Everything. Yep.
It was I
didn't know you could see penetration. I just saw you saw
but
watch the doc. It's fascinating.
It's fascinating. And if it was just Bonnie, it would be like, okay, I have respect for this woman who found her lane, and I do believe is a succubus, and it's feeding her.
Definitely.
I mean,
it's some weird dark magic.
It did something to like define those cheekbones of hers.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
In the documentary,
in the
documentary, they show what she used to look like, and it's like she was just like a girl who worked in marketing. She was just like your blonde Stanley Cup girl.
What?
And then one day she was like, wait, I can make money sleeping with my boyfriend. I can't. And
it was her husband that got into
it.
Husband. Yes.
And she only got divorced.
She's married?
She was married the whole time.
I think she's still married.
No, they got divorced.
Okay.
They only got divorced a few months ago.
Okay.
So like when the documentary was being made, they were still together, and she followed her for a year, and they got divorced during the making of the documentary. And she said
of the
that
other men?
Well, the documentary, the husband is in the documentary after the divorce, and she says like he was always supportive. He understood like what she was into and her pleasure. And in the doc, he is in it and says like, I respect her business acumen. I see and understand that this is truly what she wants, and I still think she's a wonderful person, but our lives just kind of went in different ways. And that I think maybe he wanted a wife who didn't
sleep with 1,000 men.
Sleep with 1,000 men,
in
maybe.
One go.
But he is still her like business partner. Like he does still help her manage her business, and it's interesting though because she is like this woman who has her own business, but all of the people around her are men, which I thought
except her mother.
Except her mother.
She doesn't have any girlfriends.
Yeah, Lily Phillips,
like
she had women in her orbit, women who were like helping her, designing with her. Like it did feel very much like, okay, she's got a little girl boss thing going. And Lily Phillips,
I don't think a woman could understand her.
Yeah,
Bonnie Blue. I can't relate.
She has no girlfriends. Yep.
Yeah, and she's just surrounded by men. She doesn't really leave her house because she gets so many death threats. She's like, someone could just run and throw acid on my face, so I don't really leave the house. And she's just like surrounded by these guys who are like, yeah, if this is what makes you happy and it's making us all money.
Keep doing
and that's where it's a little, if it was just her, okay. But then the documentary gets into how her fame is growing and she has to keep pushing the limit. The woman who made it has a 15-year-old daughter who came to her and was like, hey, Mom, you make documentaries. You should make one about Bonnie Blue. I see her on TikTok all the time. She's so cool. You should like talk about her and see what her deal is. And this lady's like, why?
I follow her.
She was like, why does my 15-year-old know about this woman? So she reached out, started making the doc. And in the doc, as Bonnie Blue is pushing what she does, she starts to realize, like, oh, no one cares if I sleep with like a bunch of men, but I get attention if I sleep with barely legal college men. So she starts pushing that, like, oh, I'm gonna sleep with 1,000 barely legal guys.
The way she talks is creepy too.
It's creepy, and she realizes
talks in SEO.
Yeah, and she talks in SEO.
Yes.
She says it's not my fault that those
and her
terms
eyes are dead.
She's like, it's not my fault that those terms are what get clicks. You're the reason those terms get clicks. I just work with the SEO. And it's like she sees that, and that's what kind of keeps building the traction. But then it reaches a point where she's like, oh, I'm gonna get these barely legal teens, these 18, 19-year-old girls who she finds on Instagram, who also have OnlyFans, and they know, like, oh, if Bonnie Blue tags me, I'll get followers. And she tells them, hey, I'm shooting a thing. She doesn't pay anyone. That's what supposedly makes it different than porn, is that she's having sex with everyone for free, and then she makes money on the back end. And so when she hires these girls, she isn't hiring them. She's saying, you can do the same as me, and what you'll get is a tag. They aren't even making her money on the back end. She's not giving them a cut. They're just getting a tag. They're doing it for clout. But there are these girls who are like, yeah, I started OnlyFans, and, when I turned 18, it was just kind of an easy way to, like, pay for a car. And it started, I would just kind of, like, do stuff by myself. And then increasingly people would be like, oh, well, let me see, like, a picture of this and a picture of this. And you kind of have to do more to, like, keep your followers. But, the tag I'm going to get for Bonnie, I think I'll get a lot of business from it. And there was, like, one girl who did not look of age, and like even the director was like, let me see your ID, and she was 22, but the girl was like looked 15, and she was like, yeah, I know that's why a lot of guys like buy my stuff. And Bonnie Blue is just like, yeah, so we're gonna have it be like a classroom where I'm teaching you guys sex. And the director is like asking this, she's like, have any of you ever done anything like this? Have you made porn or actually had sex on camera? And they're all like, no, I've never done anything like this. I'm actually really nervous. I've never done any. And it's like,
I think I saw the TikTok with that girl.
Yeah.
The blonde
and everyone
girl
was like concerned. Like in the comments, they were like, why are you with her?
Yeah.
What's funny is that
really
that was
popular
an
on
act.
TikTok.
She's on the Bop House. We're not going to get into that.
But the Bop
House,
and
well, then there are
they don't have sex. They just do lesbian stuff.
So then
with each other.
there are times when she's staging it. And it's like staged, and she knows like, oh, this is gonna cause drama if I like have this famous young TikToker get lifted by a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
But then there are times now where she is making legit videos and having like people who aren't known, who are like Instagram OnlyFans models, where she's like, yeah, come do this video with me because I want to get like tags because I like had sex in a school with barely legal kids. And so that's how she gets them, and they don't get paid, and they just get the clout and a tag from her. But then this content, she's selling it and she's making it, and it's going to exist out there, and they're never going to make money from it. So that's where I was like,
ruining people's lives.
Yeah, that's the part of the documentary where I was like, oh, wait, no, this is the scary part of the being a CEO, where she would probably like burn babies in a factory if it saved her money on like t-shirt costs.
She's using her pretty privilege to the max. She's wringing that shit dry. Like it's kind of insane,
because people are just like, she's so pretty, and like she could never like do something that would harm, like she's so pretty.
And the fact that she's getting people to have sex with her for free on camera when they know that she's loaded, and they're just down to do it. Like, did you see when she went to spring break and all those like stupid ass college boys were trying to fuck? I'm like, dude, like to think that she's not recording you, and like you're not gonna become content.
And like the guys are okay with that. They're like,
they're dumb.
I mean, the guys legitimately, so like it's so interesting because they interview the guys, because obviously I think the biggest question is like, what kind of guy would even want to do that?
A normal one. Literally, they're like, free pussy, all I have to do is stand in line.
This is how Gen Z men are, though. Like, this is how they kind of are.
Really, you want to stand in a line with your face on camera. Like, you're so clearly embarrassed. There are guys who are hiding their faces. Dude, and during
with holes in their socks.
During the Bonnie Blue one, in the documentary they capture it, there's a guy whose mom shows up because she like saw that he was there, and like someone hit her up and was like, your son is at this thing, check his location. She went and got him. He had already done it and got in line again. He had already done it. Well, she says, she's like, if you want to get back in line, but don't worry, the number is, she doesn't double count people, but you can get back in line. So it is a pure, there's a lot to keep in the record.
Isn't it like she does like rounds of people, so it's like you get 5 minutes of 10 dudes per round, and they're like around this circle or something weird like that?
It's timed, but she will do different variations depending on what you want. So I think it's like, there's a guy and he'll kind of be like, so you want a blowjob and you two want PV, so I can take one of you in the blowjob because those can happen it's a lot of direction, and she has that part down. See, Lily Phillips, you can tell, is kind of a more amateur operation because hers was a mess. She didn't have security until halfway through when she realized, oh wait, I've invited a lot of strange men to an Airbnb, and her like I said, she has women helping her, and these women who are like bringing the guys in and checking IDs are like, oh, I feel a little intimidated and scared. What? And so finally in the middle of it, she's like, let's get security. And afterward, there's one guy who like, after they interview him and he's shaking, he like after sleeping with her, and he's like, he can barely sit still, and you see just how intense and weird it is.
She's with some weird man that's shaking, touching.
Yeah, and she was also, she was letting them in one by one. Yeah. So she was having close the door with each guy. So it was like even
an assembly line.
And any like person, like you talk, like watch the interviews with Annabelle Chen, they'll all tell you, you have fluffers. A fluffer is a woman who like helps the porn star and keeps the guys hard so they can keep it moving, you know? And so a lot of the guys who showed up thought her friends were the fluffers, and they're like, whoa, no, I'm just here to like check you in and check your ID. That's not what this is. And so Lily by herself had to like get them hard, keep them entertained. And afterwards she was like, I just feel bad, like some of them like had trouble, and like I hope everyone had a good time, which is a whole other issue to talk about. In a way, I feel like Bonnie Blue is just the example of current scammer culture. Like she found this lane, and I think when you look at like Lily Phillips and her doc, she's someone who kind of got scammed by the narrative of it, where it's like, yeah, she has her own business and it is more empowering because it's not the porn industry, but if she had been in the porn industry, she would have had to like force that anyone in the video had an STD test. Her people didn't do that because they're just finding people who email them. If she wasn't in the industry, there are unions. There are things that try to help those performers that would keep them safe because people in the industry have like worked for some reforms. So it's like, sure, it's a little more empowering because she's splitting the profit with an online company instead of an industry, I guess. And I mean, the split there is still very unfair, but yeah, it's still, she has to work to the whims of the people on OnlyFans. What they want is what kind of makes the money. So as people like Bonnie Blue raise the stakes, it's like, oh, like she's doing this petting zoo thing. So now you see that there is this black woman who's like an African porn star on OnlyFans, and she's decided to do like 50 men anal for the first time.
Hell no.
And she's like, this
look at the trends.
Nah.
Yes.
Like, and she's like, and she's already getting a lot of attention. And so like they keep having to like to get their names because as soon as Bonnie Blue did her thing, we forget about Lily. So to keep their names in the media
for women,
for
people,
and that's
like
where
her.
it becomes this like scam because those girls doing it for the clout who think, oh, I'm gonna get this tag from Lily Phillips and then I'm gonna be able to start making in more. And to maintain those fans, like maybe you get that initial burst, but to maintain it, they expect you to keep doing
extreme
that.
stuff. And if you're not about that life, it's gonna get fucked up real quick.
And so then there's another documentary on Channel 4 that's like about my life after OnlyFans, and there's they have one that is kind of pro, and like it's some girls who are like, I paid my debt off, and but then they have another one, and it looks at this girl she's a mom, and she did it, and initially was making a lot of money, but then like the fans kind of fell off. It was just kind of more work than it was worth at a certain point, and her like son's friends found the stuff and started like bullying and like a lot of people in their neighborhood, and so it was just very embarrassing.
How did your son's friend? Oh, I guess on
minors.
Twitter.
It's so easy.
Yeah,
but like, now you can swipe any like unconsensual nudes off of line, like off of any social media platform, so it doesn't quite matter. Like even like what's the most popular girl, Sophie Rain, you can't find her nudes online. You have to like subscribe. So I think it's better now. Like I definitely think every girl should have an OnlyFans. I mean, I don't have one. There's someone that's gonna pay.
It is like it's supposed to keep it safe, and like they can, but like people will record things on their phones, and like I would guess these kids were looking for it to make fun of him.
It was probably on like Discord. You know?
I mean,
it can't be anywhere like Twitter.
I think kids are just evil, and if they hear like, oh, this kid's mom is doing OnlyFans, and they find it, they're gonna find a way to record it on somebody's iPad or something and get it and be like, look at it, we found your mom. And so that's what happened, and it was like the embarrassment of that. There was another guy, and he's like this like 40-year-old just middle-aged man, and he's like, I had a lot of gay friends, and they were all like, you're really hot, you could just like post some hot thirst traps and make money. And that's what he started as, just like chest pics. And he was like making some good money, and then it got to like guys being like, oh, I'd love to see like some more, like why don't you pull your pants, do this.
And by the end, he was doing a lot more than that. And
he's Brashear Gray,
the
Empire dude. Have you seen his Twitter?
No.
He's dripping and dropping a lot.
Now I gotta check it out.
He ended up doing a lot more.
He's getting clapped.
But like then his followers got kind of bored, so he started losing the money. But then by that point, like his like friends had found out, his parents had found out, his dad was like, and then he starts talking, and he just starts breaking down when he's like, my dad, and he just starts breaking down, and he's like, I wish I never done it. And it's mostly people who there were some people who were like this older woman who was like, it works for me because, you know, I'm 80, people are into me just like wearing laundry. Yeah.
That's
she was
cool.
like, I just wear lingerie and I make my money and I love it. And she,
cool.
But she was like, she's not making as much. It is a harder industry. People are like getting more and more into it. And the more people like Bonnie Blue kind of take that lane, and she was banned from OnlyFans, that's in the documentary. Yeah. But like there's still just another Lily Phillips. There's still just another person who kind of takes that top spot. And the more that happens, I don't know, OnlyFans just becomes more like the regular porn industry. So our recommendation for the week is the Bonnie Blue documentary.
Yes.
100%. It took over the conversation because it is really interesting. If you want to check out my Substack, Deep Trouble, I did write about Lily Phillips and her initial attempt. But she's already been blown out of the water by Bonnie. So if you want a little more context to the history of the gangbang, I get into it. It's very interesting, honestly. Like everyone is like, Lily Phillips is the first to do this, and it's like no,
not at all.
Annabelle Chong. Yes. There was a black woman who did it. The current record holder was actually this woman who lived in Poland. So it's porn stars are like, this is boring. We've been here, done this. You guys are just doing it again, but worse because you don't know what you're doing. So Bonnie, like I said, if she had chosen another industry. If she had stayed in advertising, she would be like the head of like McDonald's or something, and she would have gotten us all eating like fish fillets again. That's how powerful she is.
She should be CEO of Aloe, not doing whatever the fuck she's doing.
It's like she should be at Goop being evil for like Gwyneth Paltrow scented candles, but instead she is making her own pussy scented candles, I guess. Wow.
Yeah.
I would buy that.
A Bonnie Blue pussy scented candle?
Would you not? Bonnie Blue.
Oh, that is a wild bit. Honestly, I'm shocked she hasn't already done that because
she's missing out.
Bathwater thing.
I mean, honestly,
bathwater.
And oh my God, girly, if you want to use it, she has so many condoms left over on the floor. And you know those condoms where when they burn, like there's a diamond in it or like a ring, it burns, and as it goes, like there's like a condom that one of the used condoms in it, like encased in the wax. I feel like if you want the real smell of what it would, there's gonna be the heat and a burning hotness. I think that would make it very realistic. We gotta wrap up. We got 1 minute, but this was such a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to thank Camille and Ashley for joining me. This was so good.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Hey, if you liked this episode, make sure you subscribe to this channel. That's the best way to keep up with new episodes, and there's more here to catch up on. If you want us to talk about your favorite show, leave us a comment.